Hello everybody, welcome to Roxgold's Denver Gold Forum presentation. Thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to giving you an update on everything that's been happening at Roxgold. Forward-looking statements, I'll be making a few of these, so you've been duly warned. Roxgold operates the Yaramoko Gold Project in Burkina Faso and is also advancing the Suguela Gold Project down in Côte d'Ivoire, which we acquired from Newcrest last year. In addition, we've recently announced the discovery of a third project back in Burkina Faso at the southern end of the Houndé Greenstone Belt called Busara. And I'll be able to give you an update on the exciting developments at all of these projects over the course of this presentation. Roxgold is basically involved in three core foundations to our company. The first is really advancing projects. We like the sweet spot for Roxgold is finding and developing gold projects. Roxgold's Yaramoko project was a homegrown discovery, which is now in production. Suguela was an early stage acquisition, as I mentioned, from Newcrest. And Busara is a new Roxgold discovery that we're advancing with the drill bit as we speak. We're looking to create long-term sustainable value through these acquisitions and maintaining a strong balance sheet and managing our dilution so that we can share the benefits of these projects with our shareholders and not looking to go back and issue a lot of equity to continue our growth, but fund that organically, which our project Yaramoko has been very good at supporting. As you can see here, here's a snapshot of some of the value that we've created. As you can see here, a lot of these graphs are generally heading in all the right directions, increasing EBITDA. Our cash flow on a per share basis has been very strong. Our production very steady, and our operating costs have come down as we've brought on our second mine at Yaramoko called Bagassi South and worked on nationalising some of our expatriates. We've been able to lower our operating costs. And with today's gold price, generating record margins on an all-in sustaining cost basis. Here, I think, gives a good view of what Yaramoko has been able to achieve for the company, and it's really established itself as a great foundation asset from which to build a company, and that's what we're striking forward to do with Suguela and Busara. As you can see here, we funded the acquisition of Suguela with cash. We did not issue any shares. We haven't issued any shares for nearly 5 years, and we're very proud of that. And what we'd like to do is grow into West Africa's next multi-mine, multi-jurisdiction company without diluting our shareholders through the issuance of additional shares, but doing it through cash flow that's generated organically from our operations. As you can see there, a lot of free cash has been generated by Yaramoko, and I think it's with the success that we've recently had at Suguela and now Busara, it's fair to say, I think, or defensible, that capital has been deployed in a very accretive manner. Our sustainability record too has been very good. We've been acknowledged in a number of forums and won several awards, both internationally and within Burkina Faso, for our sustainability efforts. That has included a very clear focus on developing our people. We have over 90% of our workforce is Burkinabe, and I think that's needs to be viewed as the fact that we were the first modern underground gold mine in Burkina Faso. So a lot of those skills weren't necessarily available in Burkina when we started Yaramoko in 2015, but we've had a good long track record of skills transfer, and a lot of our expatriates are busily working themselves out of a job as we look to transfer those positions over to nationals. We've made a big impact in the local community, investing in our supply chain, building capacity in the local villages and local towns, and we've been very proud of the impact that we've been able to have. We're going to make a contribution for many years to come, and then when all's said and done, I think our legacy from Yaramoko will be viewed hopefully very positively. Turning to Yaramoko specifically, the mine has been going very well. I think it's fair to say that, like many of our peers, or probably all of our peers, this year has had its challenges. We've had some issues related to COVID-19 that we've had to manage, with some early cases on site back in March, some isolation and quarantining required for people. But we've been operating the mines and the projects very, very well since. And I think if you'd said to me back in February, March, that with a global pandemic 6 months under our belt, that we would be sitting here on an annualised basis running at the top end of our guidance, 65,000 ounces as at the middle of the year, or at the end of June, sorry, with a guidance range of 120 to 130,000 ounces for the year, I would have been pleasantly surprised. And that's exactly where we find ourselves, largely due to the efforts of our team on the ground at Yaramoko and Suguela and Busara, who've adapted to the challenges extremely well and been able to operate and really haven't missed a beat in terms of production and safety. Our guidance this year, as I mentioned, was 120 to 130,000 ounces. We expect that to be very consistent over the coming years. Yaramoko has really settled into its groove of low-cost, high-margin production. And I think one of the interesting things about Yaramoko that maybe isn't appreciated as widely as we would like is, I think, the ability for us to continue to extend the mine life. As you can see on this slide in the bottom right-hand corner, we've had a great track record over the last 6 years of replacing our reserves and our measured and indicated resources, and I expect this trend to continue. We're in the process of updating our reserve and resource statement, which we'll have out in the next couple of months, and I think we'll see a continuation of this trend as another bar goes on there where we maintain that M&I, and we can demonstrate that we've maintained that 7 to 8 year mine life that Yaramoko has always had since we brought it into production starting in 2016. And I look forward to showing those results in the coming months. Turning to the actual ore body, this is the 55 zone. There are two mines at Yaramoko, 55 zone and Bagassi South. 55 is the largest of the two, and it's our flagship operation. As you can see here, we are at the planned drilling platform at the 4700 level, which is about 600 metres below surface. We have 3 drill rigs turning as we speak, and the primary objective there is to infill that inferred material that you see below, and then start to creep a bit lower in the down plunge on the ore body and start continuing to build that resource inventory. I think one thing that's interesting is that the updated resource we're expecting to table in the next couple of months in Q4 will not have the benefit of this drilling. That's really for next year. But I think this will be the next chapter, and I think we'll be able to showcase some of the very high-grade results that we expect to see in that drilling program as a little bit of a taste for what we can expect in 2021 when we update our resources again. But I think it's fair to say that Yaramoko is going to be here for a lot longer. It will be able to maintain that 7 to 8 year mine life and ultimately have a very long mine life, as a lot of good underground gold mines are. What's on paper in the resource statement at a snapshot in time is not necessarily what you get over the mine life. Turning down south to our project Suguela, we closed on this acquisition in April last year. We acquired the project for $20 million, which we paid cash for, and it's really come along extremely well. We're very happy with the way Suguela has panned out. When we acquired the project, it was just over 400,000 ounces of inferred, and I think when we table our updated reserve as part of our feasibility study, we're going to see considerably more ounces than that. As you can see from this plan view, it's a compact site. It's a classic hub and spoke operation. The majority of the project has been built initially around Antenna, as you can see there in the centre. That's where the hub of our infrastructure will be, our processing plant. And then the spokes are the satellite deposits around Agouti and Boulder and Ancien, and to another extent, I'll talk about our new discovery at Kula, which is about 1 kilometre from Antenna. But a very compact site, no established towns or villages that need to be moved, so the permitting process is anticipated to be quite smooth. As you can see there, it has the benefit of an existing 90 kilovolt power line, and we'll be putting a spur off that to be able to have grid power. Grid power in Côte d'Ivoire is very reliable and very low cost given the extensive hydroelectric network that they have. We've been on that network, or essentially supplied by that network in Burkina, where we're also on the grid, and the reliability of our power in Burkina, which is importing its electricity from Côte d'Ivoire, has been excellent. So I expect to see that continue. So that's a significant win for our project, both in terms of capital costs, operating costs, and also our carbon footprint, given that the majority of our electrical requirements will be supplied from hydroelectrical setup generators. Turning to some of the individual deposits, some of the classic projects here. So this is just to orientate us, where we're located. We're sort of in the northeast of Côte d'Ivoire. That greenstone belt that you see popping out sort of in the middle of nowhere is the host to where we've had it, the Suguela project, and we own that. We have the complete control over that greenstone belt where it surfaces there, about 360 square kilometres. So we're very, very comfortable with our land holding there. It's quite a substantial land position on a belt that hadn't had a lot of attention in previous years. Looking at the history and the relatively brief history of Suguela during Roxgold's ownership, as you can see, we acquired an initial deposit of 430,000 ounces of inferred. That is now over 1 million ounces combined, indicated and inferred, and will be getting bigger. We're still completing or still maintaining a drill program as we speak, and we expect to see more ounces come into this. But the timeline, I think, shows a project that is relatively straightforward from a technical perspective and is moving along quite quickly. As you can see, from acquisition to PEA was around approximately 12 months. Our feasibility study is due early in the new year, so we're about 3 to 4 months away from tabling a feasibility study. Permitting is going extremely well. We expect to have a good result on permitting in the next few months as well, and then that'll allow us to break ground early in the new year, a 12-month build, and into production in the first half of 2022. So it's coming along the pike very quickly. I think this is something that will hopefully pleasantly surprise people who may be used to more extended timeframes in project development. It's certainly not been our experience in West Africa. Yaramoko, for example, was 5 years from the initial discovery drill hole to pouring its first bar of gold. So you can get on and build your projects quickly in this part of the world. Turning to the metrics from our preliminary economic assessment, and I do hasten to add that this was a snapshot in time, and we've already, I think, gone on to improve the economics here. But for argument's sake, this was a very buildable project, modest capex at just over $140 million, kicking out over 840,000 ounces life of mine production, and sort of headlined in the first 3 or 4 years by some significant production rates, largely driven by Ancien, which is our high-grade open pit, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and where we see that heading. But at $1,450 gold, when we run these numbers, it was a very accretive project, bearing in mind that it cost us $20 million to acquire. So we were very happy, but it's only got better as we've continued to drill it and at the current gold price environment. Looking here is the production profile of Suguela, and as you can see there, the yellow bars are essentially the turbocharge provided by Ancien, which is a very high-grade open pit, over 6 gram material, coming in for that first sort of 3.5 years and driving the production between 140 and 150,000 ounces. We look at Suguela really in terms of three phases. The first phase was to essentially complete the feasibility study and pick some of the low-hanging fruit, particularly at Ancien, because what we wanted to do was extend the contribution from Ancien from that sort of 3.5 years to 6 or 7 years. And as we'll talk about some of the drilling results that we've seen at Ancien, I think we're going to hit that. So if you can imagine the feasibility study graph, if you will, in a few months' time, I think it's reasonable to assume that higher rate of production will continue for, say, 6 to 7 years and then trail off as we get to the end of our reserve statement, as it is at that time. The second stage is really about sort of the medium-term growth from the existing deposits, and I think that's probably the potential for Ancien to go underground, as well as our new discovery of Cooler. If that holds together, as we hope it will, and the evidence to date suggests that it could well do that, we could have another high-grade open pit feeding into that central processing facility. And with that, our goal there, and that's probably a 12 to 18-month goal, is to be able to demonstrate 150,000 ounces maintained for 10 years in reserves. And I think if we can do that, then we're going a long way towards really defining the potential that Suguela has to become a leading West African gold producer. The third leg of that, or the third phase, will be to continue prosecuting the many targets that are already on the property, with the goal of building a sufficient resource and reserve base that would allow us to expand the processing plant, which would be pretty readily apparent by the addition of another ball mill and some additional cell tankage. So that's the sort of the 3-phase goal, and we think we have the real estate to be able to do that at Suguela. Looking at a couple of the deposits, this is Ancien. This has really been the star of the show. As you can see there, the pit shell that we published as part of the PEA is likely to be significantly deepened by the results that post-date the PEA. As you can see there, there's some wonderful results, including 10 metres at 60 grams, about 50, 60 metres below the current pit shell, as well as 7 at nearly an ounce, 7 metres at nearly an ounce, and so on. So we believe that this pit will get deeper and take in more of that high-grade material. We think the pit will go to the right, to the north, essentially. As you can see there, is a second structure has sort of been outlined in recent drilling. So the pit should get deeper and broader. And then the third leg of that stool has really been some of the infill drilling we believe will have converted some of the waste that was notionally waste in the PEA into ore in the ultimate mine plan. So really sort of pulling on 3 levers for growth at Ancien, and that's why we're very confident that, as I mentioned in that previous graph, or the production profile, that we'll be able to extend the contribution of Ancien for a number of years beyond the initial 3.5. Getting a little bit more sort of blue sky, we turn to Cooler, which is our new discovery. We announced this about in early September. This is a brand new homegrown discovery. To date, we've largely been prosecuting the work that Newcrest did, and we inherited the majority of the Newcrest team. So it's just the same people in a different T-shirt. But the Cooler is a homegrown discovery from Roxgold. This is done from the team on the ground under Roxgold's direction. Good field work, good practice, and then converting that into a drill confirmed discovery. So we're very excited. We have 2 drill rigs turning at Cooler as we speak. We have another drill rig looking to doing some exploration around Ancien, and then a 4th rig looking to test some targets to continue the good times. But hopefully Cooler is just a taste of what's to come, and we can continue to add these high-grade open pits into the overall mine plan. Broad, as you can see there, that's a snapshot of the central portion of our 360 square kilometres. We have a large land position here. So this is, we think, many years of exploration to come, and at the current rate, we've been very much encouraged by the fertility of this system and the overall strike rate with what we've been able to do in terms of making discoveries, but not only doing that, but also converting those into what will ultimately be economic mines and deposits. So it's a great patch of Côte d'Ivoire, and we think there's a lot of work to be done there. Looking further afield, and just to really wrap up, is the sort of the third aspect of Roxgold is really in our quest to become a multi-mine company, is our new discovery at Basura, which we announced at the start of this year. This is essentially a ground that we pegged a few years ago, so it was available. It had some historic Randgold exploration work done on it. It was very interesting. There has been some artisanal workings down here which have acted as a bit of a pathfinder for us. So we've followed up some of that work and then done our own mapping and reconnaissance drilling, and the results have been excellent. I think what we're looking at here is 2 primary areas, Fafora and Kalgoorlie, and so far we've been able to test the central areas of those and shown good continuity, excellent continuity, down, dip, and along strike. But what we've now started to do is step out mainly to the west and drill some of those targets that have been identified either in the mapping or with artisanal workings. And that's what the last sort of month or so of results has largely reflected. And we've seen some excellent results there. As you can see here, this is a little bit of a busy slide. This is Fafora. This is the area to the north of the permit. Fafora main there is in the dashed lines. That's coming together really nicely as probably now about 1 kilometre of strike. And some really nice grades within a big broad halo of lower grade material. So sort of low grade halo, high grade core. And we're also starting to see that in some of these satellites as we step out. And so these are where the focus of the recent scout drilling, and we've also had some extremely encouraging results there. Stepping down to the south, we have Kalgoorlie, which is probably a little earlier. This was a brand new virgin discovery by Roxgold, so it's a little behind the historical drilling that 4 has seen, but nonetheless, we're seeing some really nice high-grade resulting quartz. Again, a little narrower than what we see at Fafora, but very high grade. So we're very, very encouraged that we'll be able to wrap resources around both of these areas, and our goal is to be heading towards a maiden resource at Basura next year by around the middle of the year. That's our internal goal, and I think we're well on track to doing that. So, what a difference a year makes. When we were presenting here last year, it was a very different story. We just acquired Suguela, and we didn't really know what we had. But we were encouraged, but we didn't really have a lot of runs on the board, so to speak. And we had a good operating gold mine at Yaramoko. Fast forward 12 months, I think we're firmly established, certainly in our own minds, that Suguela is going to be a very, very good gold mine in the West African context. We've made the discovery at Basura. We're advancing regional and sort of fields exploration across Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso. So we've really filled in our pyramid, and I think taken some decent steps towards our goal of becoming the next multi-mine, multi-asset gold producer in West Africa. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention and wish you an enjoyable conference. Thank you very much.